business benefits of green infrastructure, and I actually can't think of a better example of what's the business case for green infrastructure than Central Park, New York. If people think of New York, what's the one thing they're going to think about? It's Central Park. If it's not Central Park, they're probably going to think of the High Line or something like that. It's a fantastic asset to the city. I can't imagine what the actual value in terms of pounds to New York, or dollars rather, to New York must be in terms of for Central Park. So it's a wonderful example of just the benefits that having high quality green assets can actually give. It's an iconic piece of green infrastructure. But obviously within the city, there's a whole range of micro bits of green GI there as well, which are all delivering benefits to New Yorkers. And all of these examples we know that actually GI can deliver fantastic benefits for all of these. So we know the benefits around air quality. It's well proven, good evidence. We know the benefits in terms of flood resilience, enhancing flood resilience. Again, good evidence, well proven. It can generate jobs, it can generate investment. It can help stimulate local economies. It can develop biodiversity as well. So for Natural England, that's obviously one of the things we're particularly interested in. And also fantastic benefits in terms of people's health. And the WHO came out with a report the other day talking about the benefits of green space. And all of that's money. It's all money, either in terms of savings for society, savings for local governments, or money for particular individuals and industries and companies as well. Now, Helen mentioned about the linear infrastructure network, and obviously green infrastructure isn't just within cities, it's in the surrounding countryside, and it's also along all of the sort of grey infrastructure assets that we travel on, that we use on a day-to-day basis. And it can deliver a whole range of benefits to those sectors in terms of improving the performance, in the reliability of transport infrastructure, helping enhance the resilience of some of those infrastructure assets as well in terms of managing flood risk. And it can also reduce some of the operational risks for those operators too. And you've got organisations like, Kia are here along today to talk about themselves, but Highways England, Network Rail, National Grid, Canal and Rivers Trust, a whole range of linear infrastructure asset owners all recognise the fact that the infrastructure along the side their grey assets is playing a fundamental role in helping those assets perform more effectively for them as well. So again, business benefits to them. And some of the examples of that are in terms of the fact that it's actually increasing bank stability, it can be reducing the whole life costs in terms of how those assets are managed and maintained. Issues around tree and leaf fall, that's a particular issue for Network Rail, but if you manage the asset correctly, we can actually get benefits from the GI in terms of improved biodiversity. It can reduce the problems that they have for their operations. It's also beneficial in terms of helping to manage for collisions with wildlife, etc. So there's a range of operational benefits that those organisations find that if they get the management of their green infrastructure right, will deliver for their business. But in terms of thinking about actually how can we get the most out of our GI, it's fundamental to understand what's the type of green infrastructure we're considering and what are the range of benefits it can start to provide. So you've got examples such as an area such as a lovely piece of woodland there, which is obviously delivering some fantastic biodiversity. We'll also be delivering benefits in terms of local cooling, flood storage, etc. Nice example from Hackney, which the London example, where you've got GI that's actually being used to help direct traffic as well in terms of traffic calming measures, provide opportunities for sort of improved public realm. Issues around surface water drainage. So it's a whole range of benefits that particular GI assets can start to give you, even down to your humble window box. I don't have a garden, so that my GI looks like that, but it's still delivering benefits in terms of pollination and aesthetic quality for the street in which I live. So in terms of thinking about actually how can we maximise the benefits of this GI, one of the first things we want to try and do is to understand what assets do we have, where are they? And that could be at a city level, so that's London, or that could be in terms of on a particular piece of infrastructure as well. So the example in the corner, that's the A590 in Cumbria. And it's just think about what existing assets have we got, what are they doing currently, and then how can we try and change them or look at how we can add in new GI, retrofit new GI to enhance the performance of those assets and target particular issues we want to address. Which brings us on to actually, what are the issues you're trying to address? So at a city scale, they're myriad. So you could be looking at issues around social deprivation, you could be looking at issues around the urban heat island effect, flood risk. And then thinking about how can you design the GI, what type of GI assets can you use that can start address some of those particular problems. So again, that's again is the A590 in Cumbria, and you can see the particular problems that they have there. They've got a particular problem when it comes to flood risk and surface water. And the way for all of these assets, the trouble with a lot of GI is we tend to think of it on an individual site level. And GI works best if you think about it as a network, and you think about actually how can these places, how do they connect to one another? How can we join these places up? Because if you start to connect, if you start to join up, that's when you get the real benefits from them. That's when you can start to get the real added value from the GI. So it's thinking about whether you're operating as a particular infrastructure operator or whether you're operating at a city scale, thinking about the networks of GI and how you can connect the individual assets so that they're functioning and delivering wider benefits. And to do that, it's obviously fundamental to start looking beyond your own site, looking over the fence. How can you engage? Who are your neighbours? What are the issues they're facing? How can you connect with them? How can you integrate your particular assets into the assets that they've got as well? And that's where it's important to try and bring together multidisciplinary teams, to talking to different practitioners, talking to people with different expertise, be they around health, social scientists, civil engineers, architects, etc. They all have a part to play in this. So it's thinking about it in a much more holistic sense. And then getting the design of it and the maintenance issues built in from the start. So one of the examples that we see all too often is that the maintenance of an asset hasn't been considered from the outset. And if you get it wrong, you can come across it very, very easily. So one of the issues for Network Rail in particular is that they've got particular issues when it comes to trees. We obviously we have increased wind speeds at the moment thanks to climate change. They had a largely unmanaged network, so they've got a large amount of trees on their network which are coming down in increasing numbers, which causes them a problem in terms of the operation. It causes us problems in terms of as a traveller. And so one of the issues for them is actually how can you get back to a position where you're better maintaining the network. We also have examples of bad design, where that potentially would be a fantastic piece of local community GI, except you can't get to it. It's been designed out. There's no value to the local community. So it's thinking about, actually, how can we design these places so that they're delivering the SUDS benefits, but also they're delivering benefits to local communities there as well. And also to be thinking about how can we get an economic return potentially from some of the green infrastructure. So an area of particular interest to Natural England is we've been traditionally used to thinking about woodland and the opportunities around biomass for woodland. Actually, anything that's cellulose based you can use for anaerobic digestion, you can use for AD. So there's opportunities to start thinking of some of the softer states for linear networks as assets in their own right, as commercial assets that you can start to get a return from to finance the maintenance and management of those networks. So again, thinking about how you're going to maintain it and what are the ways of using the GI to pay for itself. There's a whole range. I mean, there's endless sources of information about where you can get more info about this. Helen mentioned the literature that there's a flyer I think going around which is available. There's some information that Natural England published on the economic benefits of green infrastructure. It's well worth a look at. Information from the UK Green Infrastructure Partnership. Recommend you all join. It's free to join. Also the likes of Syria, UK Green Building Council, the Valuing Nature Network. All are very, very good sources of information in terms of the benefits for GI. So that was just a very quick introduction. I hope that's helped to set the scene. And